All right, all right. Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to Conversations with Mary Ann. I'm Mary Ann Nicole, and today is the 20th of October 2021. It's the remembrance of October 10, 2020, a day when Nigerian young people filled up the streets of Nigeria asking for an end to a rogue police department that was unnecessarily and wrongly profiling them, killing people, taking laws into their hands, and the Nigerians decided that enough was enough, and they hit the streets. Not only that, not only did they do that, of course. For those who follow stories coming from Nigeria, we obviously know that many have complained about bad governance, corruption in high places, high-handedness, um, issues like disobedience to, court orders, total abandonment of the rule of law and picking and choosing when to do what the Constitution says. And that made the protest last year metamorphose into also a call for an end to bad governance. But how did it end? Nigerian young persons who were unarmed and protesting peacefully were shot at by soldiers. And as we speak today, they still do not have, the government speaking up for them. Justice has not been meted out. And today, Nigerians decided again, young Nigerians, to fill up the streets, but this time they did their protest in cars. Before now, we know that the government had said that they should not protest. The police, the chief of police in Lagos State had put out an order saying no protest should hold in Lagos. People were not allowed to protest. They were not allowed to gather. Remember early this year when the panel that was sitting to investigate the happenings at the Lekki toll gate, one of the major venues for the protest here in Lagos, Nigeria, the outcome of some of the outcomes of that sitting had led to another planned protest, which was not allowed to be held because policemen were out on the streets apprehending even passers-by. Now, this has enraged a lot of young Nigerians, and this is why we're here today. We're going to be assessing what happened today, especially in Lagos and elsewhere. We know that we have people who protested in other parts of the country. We saw people gathered at the in Abuja, where we saw the convener of Revolution Now, Moyele Sowore, led by other people, protesting and remembering the people who lost their lives to that peaceful protest that turned violent and was hijacked by hoodlums. But joining me is a media personality. Osayuamin Salah is a broadcast journalist. She is a media personality and she anchors a show on Plus TV Africa, channel 408 here in Lagos, Nigeria. It's called #What Are You Saying? It's called Ways. Uwa, thank you for joining us. I know we can't see your face now because you're getting ready, but can you say hello?
Hi, Marianne. Thank you so much for having me.
So it's interesting to see the things that have unfolded today as to the videos you saw of protesters on the streets of Lagos today. We saw a handful of people protesting in their cars. We saw celebrities. One of the most notable faces was Falz, who's a rapper, a Nigerian artist, and also a lawyer. He was one of the people that we saw during the protest. And they were peacefully protesting in their cars, chanting the Endsars slogan. But give me a brief overview of what you saw and the look and feel.
Well, as of this morning, I had seen one of the frontliners that's pushing the Endsars, keeping the fire burning. The person of Mr. Macaroni go live on Instagram. He went live on Instagram to do the car procession, where when you get to the toll gate, you blur your horns at the toll gate with the Nigerian flags flying out the windows, or some of them in front of your bonnet and all of that. So I'd seen that this morning. I think about 9:30 or thereabout, around 8:39. Then I saw he went live on Instagram. Only for me to then go on Instagram, because I have been out all day, all morning. I have been out, and only for me to go on Instagram, and I now started seeing what's it called, reports of violence and malhandling and tear gassing. The Uber driver that was tear gassed, it was pepper sprayed rather in his eyes. He was claiming that he was an Uber driver, and his car, I hear, has been damaged and all of that. So basically, that's all I can say that I have observed, as of today. And again, of course, some broadcast journalist in a sister station, Arise TV, I think Femi Akisanya, the videos surfaced of the police trying to seize their drones, and how she was, like, body blocking the policeman and all of that. And she had to stand her ground and all of that. So again, the commissioner of police gave his own speech and all of that, which I found very funny, you know, where he said, what caught my attention when he said that, oh, some guys, I think two guys were caught with a cutlass and a hammer or something like that. And so I keep asking Marianne this question. When you say that at least you have acknowledged that there are peaceful protesters, right? So what are you doing about apprehending the so-called hoodlums trying to hijack the protest? Because that was the claim today, that they found two guys. One was having a cutlass and one was having a hammer or something. And, so they were trying to hijack the protest. They were hoodlums and all of that. This is the same report. This is the same story that made rounds last year. And the question I keep asking, why, as police personnel or security operatives, why are you not focused on apprehending people that will break the law, right? Because now there are some speculations and some assumptions, because you leave us assuming, if you're not fighting the criminals, it opens the vacuum for people to just make all sorts of assumption, which is, people are saying that, except maybe they are the ones, pushing, um sorry, they are the ones sending these miscreants to come and infiltrate a peaceful protest, right? So for me, that's the worry I have. You have something that you are saying it's peaceful, yet you're not paying attention to the people that are actually disrupting or causing
Yeah,
what's it called, the
the
mayhem, or
protests. Yes.
yeah. Why are you not
No,
hijacking? Why are you not arresting those people?
yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that intrigues me about the police in Nigeria is, I mean, you and I know the Constitution. These are supposed to be law enforcement officers, but what we see is these people telling us what the Constitution does not say. Because when CP Odumosu put out that statement saying that we're not allowed to protest, that if anybody is seen protesting, they will be apprehended, it made me go back to the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended to check if there be any clause or phrase in the Constitution that says that we cannot or we do not have a right to protest. But we all know that the Constitution does say that we all have a right to peacefully protest, and the police is supposed to be there to protect the peaceful protesters. But in this case, we see the police harassing the peaceful protesters. And just as you mentioned, we saw people with machetes, we saw people who came more like hired people to come and disrupt the peaceful protest. And thank goodness this time around they were protesting in their vehicles and not necessarily walking on foot. So it was glaring to see, what was happening. But then we saw the police stand by and do nothing when these people who were supposedly paid to come disrupt the protest showed up. So it really makes me question if the police does know its job in Nigeria.
Absolutely,
Ua, can you
Marianne.
hear me?
Because yes,
All
I
right.
can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Absolutely. So that's the concern for me, and this is what keeps ringing in my head. If you're truly serious about bringing law and order only happens where there is a disruption of law and order, and where there's a disruption of law and order is where we have found that there are actually people trying to hijack a peaceful protest. So why are you? I mean, you as a police personnel, why you're not going after those people trying to disrupt the protest? is what beats my imagination. So that's my worry. And I keep asking, okay, there were people that disrupted this protest last year, right? Where are they? Have they been arrested? Have they been brought to book? Nothing of that nature. It seemed like you allowed impunity to take the center stage because you were trying to stop a peaceful protest. That's how we see it. Until they prove us otherwise, bringing those people that actually caused the disruption to book, then we would know that yes, maybe they do not actually have a hand in this, planting of this, what's it called, disruptive mercenaries or whatever we'll call them.
I think Elsie just joined us, so I'm going to have a chime in. Elsie, I need you to turn on your camera so we can see you. There's been a lot that we're talking about here, and just like Uwa said, there's a lot of questions that beg for answers. You told me yesterday that you were interested in going for the protest. What was responsible for the change of heart?
What do you mean by change of heart?
Did you show up for the protest?
Oh yeah, I did, but I turned back at some point. So I don't even know the question I'm answering now because there was no change of heart. Really.
So you were at the protest, and we want to know because Uwa and I
can you
obviously
see me now? Because my camera is on, by the way.
No, I can't see you. We're unable to see you. But
okay.
we're just going to keep talking. So I wasn't there because I was in the office. But then we saw. I don't know if you saw how media persons were being harassed. We saw a particular. I think a blog TV journalist that was thrown into the police van. We also saw a Rice TV's correspondent who was struggling to keep in their possession the drone that they were using to record the whole event. We've also, our correspondents were tear gassed. Our camera person was literally on the ground. It does really make you wonder if we can ever really be able to protest in this country. But then we are in a democracy, so what do we do?
When we keep saying we're in a democracy, then it's just worrying because I don't think this is a democracy. We've had this conversation over and over again, and I'm beginning to sound like a broken record. This is not how you treat your citizens. This is not how you treat your people. And one of the things I tweeted today was the fact that even petty thieves, armed robbers, when they are trying to carry out their criminal activities and they get to see that there's a CCTV camera there, they either stop, take to their heels, or just readjust. Like they just give you that vibe that they understand that somebody is watching and this is enough to implicate them, right? And this is for petty thieves, armed robbers, those that are supposed to be criminals. But we have a Nigerian police force that do not care about what they do on national TV, on live TV, not just national TV. Like, you're being streamed live, and you are brutalizing the people you're put there to protect. So I'm quite exhausted. Today has been a lot of emotions for me. Maybe a bit different from what we had last year, but very similar because it just makes me wonder if they are listening, if they understand, if they know what it is. And you're having a speech by the Minister of Information still coming out to continue the gaslighting, reiterating that there is no evidence.
You beat me to it because I was gonna talk about Lai Mohammed, who recently this morning put out a statement on the day where people are being remembered, the people that they seem to say that never died, that nobody was shot at, nobody was killed, there was no massacre. But then my question is, why set up a panel? If nothing happened, why do we have a panel? Why does the coroner's report say that the casing of the bullets is the same one that belongs to the army? Is the government not, contradicting itself? Uwa and Elsie, you need to help me out here.
The government has always contradicted themselves. It's not new. This is, we even had the conversation yesterday on Wish Show. It's a case of somebody saying this from this angle and that person is saying something from this angle. Like Dele Pharaoh to me put it rightly today. He said they have told so much lies that a toddler would be able to tell you that what the truth is. So I don't understand why Lai Mohammed felt that he needed to give a press conference today, and then in that press conference all he did was to continue the show of shame, ensuring that they do not acknowledge what they have done. They cannot apologize. They cannot come back to the drawing board. I mean, Maria, we need to understand what is going on. So Nigeria has not healed from the trauma that is Biafra war.
Okay.
And this is another trauma that Nigeria is not even planning to heal from. So when it comes to Biafra agitation and the issues with the Biafran people, you hear these conversations and they tell you, you know what, apologize to these people, bring them to the table, let them understand that you have done them wrong, and then think of the way forward. We are still having that conversation. We are still suffering from the government not listening to various solutions put on the table for them to solve that situation. And just 1 year, after 1 year ago, you did something else that has broken a lot of young people. Yes, this is not an ethnic thing. We are not going to say, oh, it's just Yoruba people that were at the Lekki toll gate, or it's just Igbo people. It affected everybody across board. But the fact that I was not born during the Biafra war, apparently, and what I'm reading now and the reactions is very similar. It's a case of this one tells you this happened. We don't have a unison account of what happened at the time. It is when our mothers decide, or when our fathers decide, as our great grandparents now decide to speak from a very traumatic point of view. They share their own point of view and they bottle it up. So why do you think that we as a people, our generation, will not be this same set of people 30 years down the line that you ask me, Elsie, what happened to Endsars? And then I'll just give a heavy sigh and tell you, you know what, I can't have that conversation. Because that is exactly what it is. So we're saying we want a unified country, we want a unified Nigeria, but you are not just dividing us, you are not just dividing us with ethnicity and religion. You are dividing our mental health, you are dividing our future, you are dividing our thought process, you are gaslighting us at every opportunity you have. Just before I came on, I was thinking about Lai Mohammed as a human being and as a man, and I'm wondering, does this man have children? And if he has children, what kind of father was he to those children? Because beyond being the Minister of Information, beyond maybe somebody will come out to defend him to say he's just doing what Buhari wants him to do, however that works, beyond being all that, can't he just take a step back, sit down and ask himself questions? If your son comes to you, or your daughter, whatever gender he has as a child, comes to you and keeps complaining and protesting and throwing tantrums and telling you, Daddy, there is a problem here, we need to fix it, what would be your next point of action? Is it that you're going to sit down and tell him you don't have a problem? You need to sit down and listen to me. Anyway, I wouldn't blame them because that is actually their parenting style. Anyway, so I was just wondering, what kind of a father is this man? Because it has gone beyond his leadership skills, because clearly he doesn't have any, because there is no atom of emotional intelligence. Because if you have emotional intelligence, then definitely empathy will come to play. There is nothing of that coming to play here. So let's take that aside and begin to question, what kind of a human being and what kind of a father has this man been to his own children?
Wow, we're hitting below the belt right now. But I just quickly want to just let those who are watching us right now know this is the Endsars Memorial Show on HAPS TV. It's the network of Now. You can watch us. We're streaming live on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Well, if you have questions, you have comments, please feel free to comment, ask questions. We'll take a quick break because I want Uwa and Elsie to exit and come back in because we cannot see them. As soon as we do that, I will come back. I'm going to play you a video of a man who was trying to talk in favor of the police and making a case as to why we must protest for police welfare and every other thing to be right in the country. And guess what? He got arrested by the police and he was manhandled. We will be back right after this break. Stay with us.
the police are underpaid, and that a time will come we're going to overwhelm the police, and we certainly overwhelm the police. And we have shown that the police have not learned their lesson. Because we see that there's so much injustice in Nigeria. They have not injustice in Nigeria. Look at them, look at them running again, look at them running. This is the football protest, okay? Don't touch them now. Okay, no, why touching me? What about you? Arrest this man! Arrest this man! Arrest this man!
All right, we're back, and we're still having conversations on the Endsars. It's October 10, 2020 that it happened, but today is 1 year later. Nigerians are still asking for justice for the young people who were shot at, the young people who were killed at that toll gate. A lot of them have to leave with the pain. Some of them have been amputated, some have scars, some have had to run out of the country for fear of what the government would do. Many critics would say that the government have gone to whatever extent to cover up their tracks for what has happened. But we all know that there have been reports that have been put out at the different panels that have been set up by the governments of different states to look into the protest. Now, don't forget, the protest was peaceful, but then at some point it became, it was hijacked, by the way, by hoodlums, and it became a free-for-all. But before then, soldiers showed up at the toll gate. There was an argument of sorts. In fact, there was a back and forth between the governor of Lagos State and the army. The army initially denied ever being at the toll gate or its men being there. And then, of course, later on, the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, was interviewed on Arise Television, and he denied, inviting the army. And days later, the army now came out to say, well, that it was the governor who invited them. So now Nigerians have gone beyond asking who sent the army. They're asking for justice for those who were killed. And here we are today. It seems more like justice is a mirage. And I'm still being joined by Elsie Godwin. She is a media personality, a content creator. We also have Usayuame Saleh. She is also a media personality, and she is a host of the show Ways, hashtag What Are You Saying, on Plus TV Africa. It's on channel 408 on DSTV if you live in Nigeria or you are in Africa. So these two ladies and I have been talking. We were supposedly joined by an international political analyst, and of course he was joining us from Ghana, but I think he was having connection issues, so he dropped off the radar. But we're still having issues because I can't see Elsie and I can't see Uwa. But Elsie, we're back here. I just played the video of the man who was speaking on behalf of the police. I want to play that video again so you guys can take a look at it. He was speaking in favor of the police. He was saying there's social injustice in Nigeria. The police is underpaid. They need better welfare. And guess what? The police apprehended him. Let's take a look at that video, and I want you guys to break it down before we take questions and comments and wrap this up. All right.
The police are underpaid, and that a time will come we're going to overwhelm the police, and we certainly overwhelm the police. And we have shown that the police have not learned their lesson. Because we see that there's so much injustice in Nigeria. They have not injustice in Nigeria. Look at them, look at them running again, look at them running. This is the football protest, okay? Don't touch them now. Okay, no, why touching me? What about you? Arrest this man! Arrest this man! Arrest this man!
Well, you could hear them say, arrest this man, arrest the idiot. But the man was speaking for the police. So again, it does question where the priorities of our police officers in this country lie.
So, Marianne, it's not a function of priority. It's a function of you cannot give what you do not have, right? Do the police even know that they are not well treated? Do they really know, in the sense of knowing? If the police knew their rights, they would know that, yes, from the get-go, the Endsars protest was about them and was about giving them a better dignity, in whatever it is that they're doing, putting dignity to their job, instead of staying on the roads, going to harass people, better salaries, better work conditions, and all of that. So do they even know that they actually deserve some of the things that are being asked on their behalf? That's the question, Marianne. They don't know. So you're not even listening to the man. You're just acting like robots. Okay, so it's like a computer, garbage in, garbage out. So I just say go, and you say, how high am I jumping? That's it. So they've been given a command: arrest anybody that seems like is protesting on the street. And the police, of course, they see someone talking, they're not even listening to what he's saying, and they're jumping at him and say, you know what, arrest the man, arrest the fool, arrest whatever. So do they know? That's the question. Because you see, sometimes we assume that people actually know, but they don't.
Uwa, can you hear me though? I think I got lost for a bit. So I'm saying it's
Yeah,
unnerving that
you were
we
muted.
really, yes. Okay, yes. So I'm saying that it's unnerving when you get to find out that even the people that you are trying to speak up for do not necessarily. So it questions the unity of Nigerians, the unity of purpose for Nigerians, because it's one thing for us to complain about bad governance, corruption in high places, and of course the high-handedness of the police, even the army. We see the brutality that the army metes out on civilians. If you're seen wearing a look-alike of the army khaki, or what's it called now, you get bitten like a common thief. So it's a high-handedness that has been going on for years. And when we see all of these things, we complain about it. But when it's time for us to show up united in one voice to speak up for these things, we hardly see people come together. And October last year was the first time that Nigerians came out everywhere in the country to stand against, the kind of bad governance that we have, and of course the corruption in our uniformed organizations, and of course our politicians. But look at how it ended.
Fact,
look
Marianne,
at where
I
we
was
are.
just going to say that when you say unity of purpose, I think Endsars defeated that disunity syndrome that had been, plaguing us as a country. And I think, again, that is where, if you ask me, that is where the scare came in for the politicians and our leaders, because for the first time there wasn't religious lines, there were no ethnic lines, there were no lines at all. It was just coming together for one purpose and one purpose only, which is to demand better governance and end police brutality. So I think Endsars protest actually defeated that syndrome of no unity of purpose for us as Nigerians. I think Endsars defeated that.
It's interesting. They defeated it, but then there are people who have also said, Uwa, that one of the reasons why it was easy for it to be hijacked in the first instance is because I remember I was there at that protest. I covered it for days, and every time I asked, do you have a leadership? Who's speaking for you? And then everybody would say, we have no leader. We're all just tired and we're out here for each other. But I've also heard naysayers say that, oh, well, because they did not have a leadership of sorts and a direction, that's why it was easily hijacked. Do you buy that opinion? Do you buy that statement?
In fact, that's the same thing the commissioner for police was saying, Akim Odumosu was saying today, when he gave that press statement, when he was talking to the press today. He said that because there is no leadership, that's why it is easy. So again, I would also say here, and that's why for us tonight on Ways, we're talking about lessons learned, and we're trying to review what we did wrong, and how we can improve on certain things, right? So there were errors on the part of the protesters, no doubt about it. And that singular fact that we couldn't trust anybody to lead and say, okay, this is the voice we're listening to, was also a big, it was a big loophole, because that is the loophole, of course, that they saw and took advantage of that to start to introduce and infiltrate the protests using miscreants, right? Yes, in a sense, they didn't want a sense of, because this is what always happened. And that's why I never used to believe in protest, because you can shout and scream and everything. The next thing they say, okay, come now, let's talk behind closed doors. The leader comes out and he now goes, oh, don't worry, the thing will be resolved. Everybody go back home.
Of course, the fear of inducement, which is something that always happens in this part of the world.
That was a fear. So nobody will be compromised. And that was why there was no leadership. But you see, in in itself was also the problem, because there was nobody to talk to say, this is okay. What do let's sit down to dialogue? Because the quote I saw a quote yesterday that was so interesting, and the quote was talking about dialogue. The quote was saying that protests are supposed to initiate the dialogue, right? And that was what we got when we got the attention of the government. So it was supposed to initiate the dialogue, but the dialogue did not happen, because there was seemingly no leader to dialogue with, right?
Yeah, but Uwa, again, talking about dialoguing here, let me bring in Mr. President and his body language as to how, any protest or any agitations in the country so far since he's been president has been received. We just spoke about the Minister for Information, the Minister of Information, I beg your pardon, Lai Mohammed, saying that, totally making a mess of what happened in October of 2020, and making it seem like people were not hurt, or the army, just putting everything in the mud. But then he's working for somebody. He's reporting to Mr. President. So he cannot just on his own say whatever he likes without the president giving it a nod. Let's talk about Mr. President's body language in terms of agitations, whether it be for those who are asking for secession, those who feel that the country has given them the short end of the stick, for those who are saying, well, we do not like these bandits and what they're doing. Let's give them a name, call them terrorists, and stop making it look like, these people are good and these people are bad. Whatever agitations that we've had in this country, what has been the body language of Mr. President? Is this something that we should rely on, or talk less of even having a dialogue in the first place? Is there even an open door policy?
Marianne, why are you making me, why are you stating the obvious?
It's a question.
The body language of the president has always been one to give, he gives you the notion that he's not approachable, right? He does not have time. This is what is, either you take it as I have said it or you live it. That's always been his language. The president does not have that spirit of dialogue in him. He does not have the spirit of, let's sit down on the round table and put heads together and find a solution. In my opinion, that's my opinion. Some would argue differently, because if he had some level of emotional intelligence, some level of empathy as a president, there were so many windows for him to have proven that he was empathetic to the plight of the Nigerian youth that were having issues on the streets, being harassed by the men of the special anti-robbery squad. So there were so many opportunities for him to prove that he had empathy, he understood the situation, and he was on top of it, and he would get on top of the situation and nip it in the bud. We've seen that even with banditry, we've seen that with terrorism, we've seen that with terrorism, we've seen that with the Boko Haram. The issues, we have a plethora of issues in Nigeria that you would know that the body language of the president always seems to tend towards being in line with or in support of the wrong people, people that are on the wrong side of the law. So if you continue like that as a president, I don't even see, I don't see where the hope is for anyone, because Elsie was talking about the minister being a father, having children. What would they say to him? Blah blah blah. The question is, do they even care? They do not care what you say or what you think. They just want you to be like robots. If I tell you go left, just go left. No questions asked, right? Don't leave out the fact that these people are coming from an era where children or younger people are not supposed to question adults. You can't take away that culture from them. That is already their makeup, and they are seeing that children are speaking up instead of taking that as, okay, let's sit down to talk about it. It's more of it's an insult for you to actually even question my authority. They are not seeing it as this is constructive criticism. This is feedback for your what's it called, for you as a president and how far you have fared. They are not seeing all of these things as feedback. Instead, they are taking it that you are coming to trample on their authority. You are coming to, ruin their reputation as president. You are coming to tell them that they are not leading the country right. So they want mediocrity in this country, where you are doing something wrong as a leader and you cannot be questioned. People, I mean, this is presidency we're talking about. We see these things everywhere. Smaller organizations, in different spheres, in families, you see people say, do not question your parents, don't you know? Or don't question the adults there. If a child talks and says, the child asks the question, why? It's almost like a taboo for you to ask, why is this happening? So it's a big issue.
So you're saying that
deeper
this is
than
a societal problem, not just the fact that we have bad leadership, but it's a problem with society.
And it is rubbing off on the kind of leaders that we continue to have as a nation.
Okay, Elsie is back with us. So Elsie, I'm going to put you on the hot seat now. So it's also interesting to see that 1 year down the line, it doesn't look like the government is going to give us any justice. And it looks like we also have more like an arm or a foot down our necks. And it makes us wonder what the future holds for us as a country. And this government still has about 2 years before they wrap things up. But is it really about this government, or is this about the country, Nigeria, and the people who call themselves the elites, the people who lead us, and the people who are part of that cabal that would always throw up the same kinds of people to lead us? So where do we go from here? Elsie.
You said the government has 2 years to go, right? I'm sorry to bust your bubble. They are done. They don't have 2 years to go. They are now focusing on 2023. If you think they are doing anything now as your leader, then you're wrong. But one thing I'm glad for today is that commemoration happened. And I commend whoever came up with the idea of the car procession. I'm glad that we were not silenced. I'm glad that we found a way to respect the dead. Even though right now a lot of people think that they have died in vain, but I do not believe it's going to be in vain. The future for Nigeria, or is it the future for the youth? It's worrisome, right? But we will get there. With this kind of innovative thinking, with this kind of persistency, not allowing fear to overcome you, I believe that we'll get it right. However, but then again, we also need to be strategic about a lot of things we are doing. 2023 is around the corner. If there's one thing I have told myself is that before the end of this month, I have to find my way to wherever that place is that my unit is, to ensure that I pick up something, whether it is the temporary, or it's not supposed to be temporary, it's supposed to be PVC, right?
You should get your voter's card. It's ready. It's been ready for years.
Because I pointed out something yesterday too on the TV show, which is the fact that these people are doing the work. And if we understand how the universe works, whether you sit down and call God and Muhammad from now to tomorrow, if you don't do the work, you're not going to get results. That's how simple it is. They are doing the job. Right now, APC has 1 million people registered as their members in Zamfara State. That is just one state. And I pointed it out yesterday again that Buhari just needed to get 15 million plus votes to become the president of Nigeria of over 200 million. Right? If they can mop up that in every other state they are in, then it means that whoever they bring out as their presidential candidate, whether we like the person or not, has a very, 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 very high chance of becoming the president of Nigeria. So
and that's pathetic, because
it is pathetic.
Because we're very good at complaining, but then when it comes to exercising a civic duty, some people don't even have a voter's card, and they're over 18.
Yeah. So if INEC can be seen to be sort of doing their job in terms of making it possible for people to vote or even begin their registration process online, and then finish it up in their nearest polling units. Having conversation around electronic transmission of results. I want to believe that they are doing their part, and we need to begin to do our part as well. We need to play our part. We need to get involved. We need to pay attention. We cannot continue saying we want this, we want that, and not do the job. And this is where I sort of hold brief for some of the people who have been identified as leaders. Yes, we don't have anybody that would say they are our leaders in terms of this movement, and from the Endsars protest to wanting good governance and this commemoration. But however, we can also agree that there are few people that we listen to, or we say they are coordinating this movement. And I've reached out to one or two of them, especially when INEC started the whole registration thing, to say, come on this show, come on this platform, let's have a conversation, let's help people understand that they need to start voting. And we did not get a positive response. All they are interested in is just being online and tweeting. And I'm not saying it is their responsibility, but as a collective, it is our responsibility to ensure that we do some sort of what's it called now, political literacy for people around us, to ensure that they begin to get their mind off the number one reason we have voters apathy, which is the fact that a lot of people think that their votes do not count. And I'm saying,
but I
if
also
your
like
vote
to
do
let
not
you know.
count-
Sorry, Elsie, quickly. Voter education is not just the job of INEC, that's in the umpire. It's not also just the job of the National Orientation Agency. It is the primary responsibility of political parties. It's part of their job, but they will not educate you because they have ulterior motives and they like where we are as a country. So unfortunately, they don't do that. Instead, they chuck
which is why I'm
some money into
saying
your
we
hands and
cannot
give you
only-
wrappers and some cups of rice to feed you for a day, and then they take all your money for 4 years.
I completely agree. But that's why I'm saying we cannot only be seen to be making noise. We cannot only be seen to be saying, you're not doing this right, we don't want this kind of leaders. We have to walk the talk. So if the political parties are not doing it because the situation of things favors them at the moment, if the National Orientation Agency is practically a cemetery, then we have to do what we have to do. We cannot just, now we've done this commemoration, what's the next step? Right? It doesn't end. Yes, you are doing your part online, and I wholeheartedly commend everyone who is doing what they can do. And trust me, it is even enough, because their lives and livelihood are always targeted. It's a case of, where does this person work? How do they make money? And we find a way to bring a policy that will bring everything down, right? I know that they're doing enough already, but I'm saying we need to do more. We need to engage. If we're clearly and truly passionate about this, we need to get off our phones, especially those that are seen to be influencers, those that are seen to be leading this movement, to get to the grassroots, to get to people. And just what we're saying is, be part of the conversation. There are already conversations happening in small pockets areas in the country. Join them. Don't wait till they come to, or don't wait till it's a conversation that will bring you international recognition before you are in the front of it.
Because we're all feeling the itch. We're all feeling the pinch, rather,
we're all
of
feeling
how
it.
bad,
So let's do what we
the
can
country
do when
is.
we can. Even if it's in a remote area and you cannot be there physically, why not give them the option of saying, can I join you virtually and have this conversation with people? Because, for example, if somebody like Faust should, with his influence and what he has done so far, there's a level of authenticity with his brand right now. And a lot of people will listen to him when he speaks. If there is a political literacy conversation going on in an Abia State, for example, and yes, he's a busy man, he's making his money, he's an artist, he's not Nigeria's, and Nigeria is not paying him. He's busy, he cannot get there. He can give 30 minutes of his time to please join them and encourage people. All I'm saying this to say is that we need to do better. We need to be strategic about this. We cannot just keep making noise, because these people do not care. And if we do not infiltrate them in the right way, we will keep getting the same crop of leaders, and we'll keep being agitated, we'll keep being gaslighted, our emotions will keep being trampled upon, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Well, on that very sober note, because I think it's the most sobering thing ever to be having this conversation 1 year later, and nothing, absolutely nothing seems to be done about it. And I'm still at the early hours of this morning stuck on that message by the Minister of Information, who's disinforming the public as opposed to what his job should be, saying that there was no such thing at the Lekki toll. I'm still stuck there, guys. I still haven't been able to move.
These
to
are the
what's
kind of
happened
things that make me
today.
believe that there's no witchcraft, because I just want to be able to do my eye, and it will just fall down and die.
And we'll be in the US because I really want to go on a holiday, but there's no witchcraft that can take you there, because the dollar can also take you there now, because the naira to the dollar is messy. There's nothing we can do. I really don't know if there's any good thing we can talk about right now in terms of the economy, politics. I mean, literally, the only good thing is that we're all alive and we're pushing.
And the good thing is that we have this crop of youths that are not giving up.
Yes,
and
yes.
we can hold on to that, because as go ahead.
Okay, Uwa, you want to say something?
Yeah, Elsie, I love the fact that you actually, when you started just now, when you talked about commending them, it's actually a massive thing, because don't forget that since 2 weeks before this date, the police have been hamping on, don't come out, almost like trying to make us go cower into not doing anything and just sit down quietly in fear, like subdued. Now, Elsie and Marianne, this is why I say that we have a big problem on our hands. It's the same thing with using the force. As a parent, your child is doing something probably that you do not like. Instead of you to sit down to understand the problem and deal with the problem, but you want to now put stamp your foot on the ground and almost use fear, to make your child probably obey or do what you asked them to do. Those kind of things can only last for a moment, because it would eventually blow up, right? We are sitting on a keg of gunpowder in this country. Every time government tries to talk to us, it's almost like, do as I say. Period. You do not have you can't question us. We cannot be questioned, right? So what they try to do with this Endsars protest, that's why I commend Elsie for commending those people that brought the initiative of the car procession. Everything that they said, do not come out, any form of whatever will not be. It was almost like putting fear into people, making sure that whatever you do not come out. And people were truly worried and afraid that parents started calling their children, wow, my picking, don't go out. Oh, today is this, everybody, because that has always been the style of governance in this country, where you would use fear, to get what you want done. That's always been the style. And those things have to change. And that's why, if you listen to real change comes with innovation, right? You must be innovative. You must find creative ways to beat the system. This system already is flawed. Until we as a people, I loved what Elsie said again about getting your PVCs, but it's beyond that. Let us also get involved in political parties where we can decide who comes out as candidates. Because it's not just enough for you to just go and put your thumbprint. You have to also be where the decisions of who comes out as a candidate are made. So those are the things that
I want to come and
be
teach you, Uwa, because we, as much as we say, oh, get your PVC, oh, join the movement, we forget that the average Nigerian thinks that joining partisan politics is either against their religious beliefs or it's going to make you a terrible person. But how do we sanitize a system if the so-called clean people or good people are not in that system to sanitize it? So we have to get into partisan politics. We cannot just sit on the fence. We have to be there. We have to infiltrate these parties, grow through the ranks, and then start making the decisions that will turn this country right. But on that note, guys, we have to go. I have a live show on TV in the next few minutes. I want to say thank you, Elsie, Usayuwa Mestale. They are both going to be live right after my show on Plus TV Africa channel 408. It's called Ways #. What are you saying? Get ready, because all through today on Plus TV Africa, we're talking about the Endsars remembrance and all of the things that happened today. My show is up in 30 minutes, so join us if you're in Nigeria, channel 408. If you're not in Nigeria, You can go to Plus TV Africa Lifestyle and Plus TV Africa on YouTube. As soon as it's 7 p.m., click and we will be streaming live so you can be part of the conversation. Thank you, ladies, for always being here when I call.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Thank you, Elsie. And on that note, thank you, everybody, for being part of the conversation. Don't forget, you can watch a playback of this conversation on YouTube live. It's Marianne Duke-Okon on YouTube. So go ahead and watch it right after we end this conversation. And post your comments. We'd love to hear from you. I'll see you sometime next week on Conversations with Marianne. I'm Marianne Okon from Lagos, Nigeria. Have a